Hey, thanks for taking the time to ride around this beautiful Ready? Thanks for taking the time to ride around this beautiful golf course with me today and be my chauffeur. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.
Hope you enjoyed yourself.
Beautiful place. I enjoy driving the golf cart and spending a day in the sun. Very
Good.
nice.
How old were you when you enlisted?
I enlisted, I was 23 or 24, right at 24.
Okay.
So I was a little bit late.
Yeah, a little later most people do it right out of high school or something like that, but
So I graduated Texas Tech University, and right out of Texas Tech, I knew that my next step was trying to get in the military. Yeah, so I grew up around pilots. I always wanted to be a pilot. I didn't really see another path forward other than aviation. So I graduated college, and the Army has a program called, it's got a fancy name, but it's called High School to Flight School. And so it was designed out of the Vietnam War, so you didn't necessarily have to have a college degree, but I did. But there were people in the course with me that did not. And so I went to 9 recruiters, and they all told me it didn't exist. And then I went to a 10th one, and it was like, yeah, I'll work you in. I'll try to get you into this. So I got into this program called High School to Flight School that you show up and you learn how to fly helicopters.
nice.
So that 10th recruiter was an Army recruiter that finally said, hey, I'll take the time and try to get you into this program.
So you had to still go to boot camp, right?
Yeah, so it's a long process. It took me about 8 months to get into the program. But basically you enlist in the Army.
Okay.
I went to basic training, and I didn't tell anybody I was in this program. So I was private. And then at graduation, they pinned on 3 stripes on me for sergeant. Nobody was happy about that. And so I wore that for about 2 weeks, and then I went to probably the most challenging school I've ever been to, and that was Warrant Officer Candidate School in Fort Rucker, Alabama. And so that's where you go. You have to make it through. It's Officer Candidate School, but it's Warrant Officer Candidate School, and it was the most challenging place on earth.
Mentally, physically, both?
So basic training is physical, but Officer Candidate School is very mental, both physical and mental. So you're up at dawn, you're challenged every day, and my class started with 78 people, and I think 40 graduated.
Wow.
People went home every day. It was rough.
That's almost 50%.
It was, and some people would leave, or some people would just get set back. But Warrant Officer Candidate School in 1994 was a challenge.
Wow. How did you make it through that?
So at graduation, one of the black hats came up to me and congratulated me for making it, because he said he didn't think I was going to make it.
Really?
So if there was a transgression, they'd take you out into the grass and smoke you. They would push-ups, sit-ups, run in place until you're exhausted. And I said I'm not leaving. So you can kick me out, but I'm not leaving.
So they wanted you to quit, essentially. They wanted to try and break you down.
They want to make sure that you're not going to quit.
Okay.
So they want people that are not going to quit. That's the whole point. So if you want to kick me out, you can, but I'm not quitting. If that means I fall down,
So be it.
But that's what everybody did.
Wow.
I mean, everybody was properly motivated. They wanted properly motivated people to get to go fly helicopters. So it took a lot just to get there. When I finally graduated from walk school, and they finally gave us flight suits with no wings, you start learning how to fly. And so my first week there, and we're flying Hueys. That's how old I am. We're flying Hueys, and we fly out to the airfield where you're learning how to fly, and there's a Huey on its side in pieces. And so the students in front of us, and the class in front of us, had pulled back too hard, chopped off their own tail boom, and crashed on the field. And so aviation's amazing. It's a great profession. I highly recommend it, but it is absolutely unforgiving. So flight school is for about a year. In the Army flight school, it depends on, there are different phases of flight school, both Army and Navy pilot training, there's different phases. It took about a year, but I finally graduated. And so they're like, congratulations, you've made it through basic flight school. And then after that, you're looking for an advanced transition. So you get another course. And I was pretty fortunate, pretty lucky at the time to get a Black Hawk, UH-60 Army Black Hawk qualification course. It is June of 1994. Just like everything else in the military, you don't get a choice. You get to put in your request, but you don't really get a choice. And I got orders to the 82nd Airborne in North Carolina, 282 Aviation Brigade, and I flew an Alpha Company, Red Hawks, and that was my first unit. And so what I learned how to do there was we mostly flew at night, and we flew large formations, 8 ship, 10 ship, 15 ship, 20 ship, helicopters at night, and we would either move large groups of infantry, or we would move artillery. We'd pick up cannons underneath us, fly them around, they'd fire, and then we'd pick them up and reposition them. So the artillery's moving. And so, but our skill there, when I was there at the 82nd Airborne, was plus or minus 30 seconds. And what that meant was you're a commander and whatever, and you want troops on the ground next Tuesday at 9:30 at night, plus or minus 30 seconds. And so me and 30 other pilots would plan for getting everybody there at the time you wanted us there, usually to seize an airfield, but we would plan backwards all the way to when we had to take off, when we had to brief, and it was all about planning backwards. And so plus or minus 30 seconds, anywhere, anytime, yeah, and that's what we did. So you go fly, and you get a brief, and you were, they're called chocks in order of helicopters, and like I'm chalk 3 in the second row, and we're picking up troops and we're dropping them off here. And so that's what I did at the 82nd Airborne. If you missed that window, I mean, for the most part, this was training. And if you missed that window, you did better next time. You trained better. You worked harder. You made sure that didn't happen again. It was your profession, and this is what you worked to do. So call signs. So the Air Force, the Navy, the Marine Corps, they do call signs. And they get call signs at graduation, winging, and those call signs last their career, and they're usually not very good. The Army and the Coast Guard, there's not a call sign party, and we don't get issued call signs. Now that being said, you make a mistake, you do something wrong, that's probably your call sign for your career. And everybody has call signs, but in the Coast Guard and the Army, specifically in the Coast Guard, from air station to air station, your call sign might change. Right, so, Brad Ronan is missed today. I did 29.9 years in the military. I went through multiple Class A mishaps, was around these mishaps, were in my unit in one way or another, and how does an Army unit or a Coast Guard air station continue on? It's a process, but you grieve, you look at, try to figure out what caused it, and then at some point you have to put it in a box, and you put it in a box inside, and you don't open the box, and you do your mission, and then you just keep doing, keep flying. And so I think that's the only way anybody can overcome something like that, is you have to continue on, and you have to continue on successfully. You have to learn from the mistakes and ensure they don't happen again, and fight to ensure that whatever went wrong doesn't happen to somebody else. So I was still jumping out of airplanes for a while once I left the 82nd Airborne. And a friend asked me one time, he's like, hey, you want to go jump with me on Sunday morning up at Dillingham? It's on the west side of the island of Oahu. And I said, no, I can't. I've got to stand duty. So duty is what military aviators do. I was on 24-hour duty. I think it was 8 to 8. And then on Sunday morning, and I got a call. And they're like, hey, we've got a jumper injured at Dillingham. And so we launch out and go to Dillingham and pick up a female jumper that had broken her leg. And I think I saw my buddy and I waved, and it's just amazing that I hadn't been out jumping with him that day. But we picked her up and put her in the back, loaded her in, and I can still remember seeing her femur sticking out of the top of her leg, laying in the back, and we just fly as fast as we can to get her to Queens, downtown Honolulu. So I flew a lot of cases in the medevac, 68th Medevac in Hawaii. It was, most of the cases were very rewarding. To save somebody's life is to be a part of that, to assist somebody in continuing living is a pretty amazing process. And the flying is pretty fantastic. But some cases don't go right. And anybody flies in the military and does medevac knows that some cases don't go right. And so one of the ones that I remember the most, we got a call, middle of the night, it's dark, and we hear that somebody's been hurt. And we typically don't know all the details. You're trying to gather details, more information. For every launch, you're just trying to get more and more information. What's the status? Where are they at? So we got the crew together. We launched out in the dark. We're in our goggles. We land in a dirt field, and the medic gets out, Army medic, who's going to go help this guy get on board. And we start getting more and more information. We learn it's an Army soldier. And he's blowing off his hand or his arm. We're not sure. And everybody can feel, this is real. So, everybody's moving to get him on board, and doing everything we can, and flying as fast as we can. And he didn't survive that flight. David Rubik, 22. And we landed on Queens and we shut down, and the crew got out, and I can remember just sitting on top, and on top of the hospital, and the crew's just devastated, right? And so there's an emotional toll that any crew that goes out and rescues people that they impact, they feel. You don't walk away from that without taking something with you. After Air Station New Orleans, I got orders to Air Station Miami. So 4 years in Miami. Glorious place. I love Miami. I love Florida. And I flew for the Coast Guard for 4 years there. And so Coast Guard's primary mission is search and rescue, but we do law enforcement as well. And so you're out there at night patrolling, people trying to get in the U.S. all day long, all night long. So you're in a patrol, you're out looking to make sure people aren't coming into the United States, and we're looking for boats. We're looking for boats coming in. We're the Coast Guard, and so we're trying to ensure that boats are not coming in the United States. So we fly patrols out there, and one night a guy and I were out, middle of the night, we're just doing a normal patrol off of Miami. You can see the lights of Miami behind us under goggles. and we see a boat, and the boat is headed towards Miami, and it's about a 22-foot cuddy cabin. It's a little cabin up front, and it doesn't have lights on, and so that's like strike one, no lights on, and it's low in the water. It's low in the water, so it's probably carrying something. So we make an approach to the water. So making an approach to the water is a big deal. So transitioning from forward flight to hover over the water, it's a skill that you need to learn. You're trained for it all the time. It's one of the fundamental skills of the Coast Guard is transitioning from forward flight into hover flight at night. And so we're pretty good at it. So we make an approach to the water right next to the vessel that's trying to come into the United States, and we're like 50-foot hover next to it. They're heading in. We've got goggles on. I'm in the right seat, and I can see 3 guys that are driving the boat, and they don't look at us. Like they're not looking at us. Like there's a
Like you're not even there, yeah.
Like there's a helicopter next to you and hover next to you. So we've coordinated with Sector Miami, and small boats come out and stop the boat. And so, and what they were smuggling was people. And so, at some point, the boat starts to sink. They've scuttled it. So the smugglers want to get rid of the evidence. And they scuttle the boat, and about 20 people come out of the front cuddy cabin, and the Coast Guard transitions from a law enforcement case to search and rescue.
Wow.
Now we're rescuing 27 people out of the water. Yeah, and so that's what we did.
Wow.
That is, I'd say, a fairly
Normal occurrence.
standard case. Yeah.
Wow. So I understand you received the Distinguished Flying Cross.
Yes. So awards are a funny thing in the Coast Guard, in all branches of service. That case that I mentioned earlier, where we nearly went offshore, and nearly died, we came back, no award, and then 4 days later, I went and painted a school, and they gave me a ribbon for painting the school. So every time I look at that ribbon, I think of that night flight. After Katrina, we live in a wasteland, but we had just done something extraordinary. Air Station New Orleans had done something extraordinary. Captain Bruce Jones had led us to do something amazing. And so we did that as a team. There were 28 pilots. There was 140 crew members at our air station, plus all the pilots and crews that came in. And so awards. So 4 of us got DFCs, and it to be singled out among a group of amazing people wasn't a good thing. I can think of 10 people that deserve a DFC. I'm very, very proud of it, but it's there are a lot of heroes in the United States Coast Guard and in the military. So I had envisioned the entire air station on the lawn of the White House, and everybody getting one is what I would have liked to have happened. And I know that my command felt the same. It was just a unique time. So being part of the United States Army and the United States Coast Guard was the most fantastic career choice I could have picked. I'd highly recommend the military, and especially the Coast Guard, United States Coast Guard, to anybody that feels that they could be a part of that organization. You work
with the highest caliber of people, doing the most challenging missions, and having an impact on the people that live here. I highly recommend it. If I could do it all again, I would. I'd start over. If I was as physically capable, I would absolutely love to drive United States Coast Guard small boats, 33 footers, 45 footers, out doing rescues at night. Man, if I could start over, I might almost do that.